So let's talk about the publishing industry itself. Everything that you know about the publishing industry, I want you to take the hat you're wearing and I want you to take it off and put it next to you. Like just any perceptions you have about it, I want to really share with you what it's going to take. So, number one, publishing is one of the most opaque, meaning there's little to no transparency across the board industries. It is not, if you read my book, Unicorn Team, I talk about donkey behavior versus unicorn behavior. Publishing is not just a donkey industry, it is a dinosaur industry. Okay. It is ancient. It is one of those industries, kind of like healthcare, where it's just monster. Right. And there's so many moving parts and people. And then now, because of self-publishing, even more options. So it's very opaque. It is very siloed. It is not integrated. And this overwhelms most people and causes them to delay or never publish their body of work. I will tell you that because of this fact, it took me longer to publish my book just because of this, because of what I had to wade through and try to understand. Have any of you like met up with the same type of friction? Just because like you pursued something and then you're like, oh wait, that's not what I wanted. Or you got a book deal, let's say, and then you got in there and you're like, whoa, there's so much more to understand. And I still feel like I'm being gaslit every step of the way. And I would say you're not being gaslit for the most part. They're just not organized and you think they are. They're not. They're just a behemoth. Okay. That's the bottom line. The good news is there are a ton of ways you can go. But the flip side is that there are a ton of ways you can go. And that causes a lot of overwhelm. And no one has been fully transparent about how the machine works until now. And what's funny is I say no one's been transparent. I got to tell you guys, because I have no ego around this. I truly believe that I was made to disrupt this industry because all I ever do is like create a new product, bring it to market and make it a success. And publishing is overdue for a makeover and for a streamlining. It wasn't until, as I said, until I really don't think anybody could look at it like I could, because that's how I'm built, because I'm crazy like that. I like to understand how the whole puzzle works so that I can make the puzzle, like I can finish the puzzle. And I tend to do that not just for myself, but I can't help it. Once I do it, I need everyone to know how to do it. That's just how I'm built. You're not crazy. It is a very confusing industry. Publishing fact number two, a publishing house is not a publishing house. It is a venture capital firm. It is a venture capital firm. What they are doing is they are investing in book ideas because that's the business that they're in. And for them to buy your idea, they need to know that they're investing in the right unicorn. You guys know, right? Like you'll hear a company become a unicorn, right? That means it's a $1 billion business. You guys have heard of this language, yes? Publishers, that's what they're doing. They are literally, this is what they do. They're looking for two winners a year, two winners, okay, at their publishing house. And they will give smaller deals to a bunch of other authors, and they have no intention or think that you're going to succeed. Do you know that? They're betting on you to fail because what they're betting on is their top two authors are going to win. And they're going to make up for all the revenue they're going to lose for the year. That's how also hedge funds and venture capital firms operate. And when I got inside and I was like, oh, this is how it works. I know how to like get around all this, right? And I wondered why it was so hard for me to get my book deal or why I wasn't getting the money that I thought I deserved based on my platform. And I realized because I'm not Seth Godin yet. So it made me actually feel good to know that, because I realized even with my first book, if I just showed them I could sell a lot of books, the next time around, I was going to get a monster deal. So I already knew it ahead of time because I figured this out even before I got my book deal, because I investigated the shit out of this. How they need to see you is as a worthy business partner, not just as an author. I need to let that land. But funny thing is, they won't treat you like a business partner though still. But you need to embody that energy. That's my point. So even I saw you, Shayna, you're going to start pitching agents tomorrow. I promise you, the agents are never going to be as good as you to pitch it, but you still need them. And the agents should see you as a business partner too, because they get paid based on the deal that they get you. They're not used to doing business like this because agents don't think like entrepreneurs. The publishers definitely don't think like entrepreneurs. They're not innovative. And so even as I teach you all this, just be warned, if you start to try to negotiate based on what I'm teaching you by yourself, they're going to still ignore you because they're like, what are you talking about? We're not your business partner. You're an author and we're the publisher. They still see it like that. But what's funny is they're making decisions like this, but they're just not naming it like that. Does that make sense? I'm trying to really help you like be inside and think like a strategist, not just an author, not just an entrepreneur. And this is for traditional and hybrid. Hybrid is technically traditional. It just because they get you distribution. And to be honest with you, if you don't understand publishing, why would you go traditional publishing at all? Is because traditional publishing has the most gravitas. And what I mean by that is if you are traditionally published, society still sees you as more legitimate. Being with a hybrid or a traditional publisher matters if that matters to you. The problem is they take most of your money, but you don't make money from books anyway, unless you are one of the top two unicorns, meaning like Mel Robbins, I guarantee you she's going to negotiate like a $10 million advance for her next book because of Let Them. I don't bet my success on the outliers. You should write that down too. Marketers will market the outlier to you. They will say, you want to be like Mel Robbins, you should do this listicle of 10 things to write a book like her. That's not what it does. That's not how it works. Okay. You should not ever design your success around outliers. You should design your success around what is the most predictable. So for me, I knew I wanted to go traditional or hybrid because I wanted to be legit. And I'm not saying if you're self-published, you're not legit. Please don't hear that from me. I actually love, and I'm going to show you a ton of self-published books that you might not even know were self-published. Well, for example, Think and Grow Rich was a self-published book. You Are a Badass was a self-published book. One of the top selling books after Let Them this year is Inner Excellence, self-published book. So I don't want you to think I'm saying that it's not legit. I'm saying that the publishers sell how they do it as legit. And I'm going to share with you when I talk about the impact of AI going forward, why going hybrid or traditional, there's other reasons to do it right now that weren't present before. I mean, there's just so much to consider here. And that's what I really hope you do is you stick around with me after this, because there's so much to share to direct and help equip you with negotiating for yourself and advocating for yourself as an author and making that money and making that impact. Publishing fact number 3, publishing houses are not good at marketing and sales and publicity. They absolutely suck at it, but they have departments called marketing and sales and publicity. But you will have to do that on your own. And I know Dr. Sanitas is here, and she just came out with a book as well recently. And she was traditionally published. And although I'm sure that I'm not saying the publishers are bad at taking care of you, I'm saying to expect them to be good at this would be false thinking. They're not good at this. And just like every other industry, they are actually like reducing their workforce. You have to fund all the marketing and sales and publicity yourself. And guess what? You're like, holy shit, Jen, is that true? If that's true, then like if I self-pub, that's probably better, right? Well, self-pub is good if you know how to sell and market and get yourself publicity too, because it doesn't matter. You're going to need it either way. A self-published book is just a product. And if you struggle with selling a product, it's not going to get easier if you self-pub. It's actually going to be harder because there's no disciplines. At least in traditional and hybrid publishing, there are timelines that you have to keep because you sign a contract. And that's also why I like hybrid and self-pub, because it's so funny. People will say, I'm so disciplined. I am the most disciplined person you will ever meet. And what I mean by that is I like having timelines because it makes me do the work. If I'm given the authority to create the timeline myself, I'd rather not do it. Am I right? This is why a lot of you hate making content, because content is just on you. Nobody's forcing you to like give a deadline. But like, you know, the podcast hosts who get big $1 million like deals to do their podcasts, they have to do it on a schedule. You know what? If somebody gave me $1 million to do my podcast, you bet your bottom dollar I would do 4 damn interviews a week. Like no problem, because I have a contract. And you gotta like know yourself. That's the thing with me. Is like I know myself, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and I fight really hard to not set myself up for sabotage because I'm too lazy to be pulled into chaos. Being like me is really fun because I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do that. But the things I do want to do, I want to go all the way. I'm like big on excellence. I have a standard for everything. Does you guys like we're weird, right? Like we have standards and excellence, but then we're like, ugh, so tiring. It's because you're doing a lot of the wrong things. Authors, no matter how big they are, should never rely on the publisher to promote their book. And publicity only works if there's a strategy and if you're one of their favorites. And it's true. There are a lot of playing favorites in this game. And I hate that. But I'm changing that. I'm leveling the playing field. Publishing fact number 4, traditional and hybrid publishing are the only way you can hit the New York Times bestsellers list and other major bestseller book lists. So I want to repeat that. So if you are self-publishing and somebody tells you that you can hit the New York Times, they are lying. That is not true. Now, there are a couple exceptions and they are rare. But as I said, you never bet your success on the exception or the outlier. If you do that, you're going to always be disappointed. Okay. You can admire an outlier, but don't try to replicate their success or you're always going to feel like you suck. For example, Inner Excellence, the book that I just mentioned. Do you guys know the story of Inner Excellence? Do you recognize that book? It's a big seller this year. Well, how it got popular is during the NFC playoffs this year. If those of you that are into football, and I am, and I bleed red and gold, I am a 49ers fan through and through. I'm in Boston right now, and I was telling my son last night, he's like, "Are you liking Boston, mommy?" I said, "I love Boston." I also like that they're big like sports fans here because in the Bay Area, we're very big sports fans. We like baseball, football, and basketball. And I said, except that they're Patriots fans. So that really bothers me. Otherwise, I love Boston, right? And anyway, so this book, Inner Excellence, during the NFC Championship game this past year, one of the players on the Philadelphia Eagles was reading Inner Excellence on the sidelines when he was off the field. And the media caught that he was reading this book. And that book went bananas. It was a self-published book. In one day, this author sold something like 50,000 copies on Amazon because this player is reading Inner Excellence. Now, guess what? That dude made a whole lot of money because self-pub is on-demand printing, generally speaking. Self-publishing is on-demand printing. So meaning every time the book prints, he makes more money than a traditionally published author. But do you think he was expecting it? Do you think he knew this player was going to read the book and that the media was going to like, I was like, yes, God loves him more than all of us that day. There's no doubt. God, for some reason, was like, you are chosen. Great. But let me tell you what, then at the Super Bowl, the whole team starts reading the book. So then he sells 100,000 copies again during Super Bowl weekend. Now, guess who all, when you have a car accident, you see those lawyers' billboards? That's what happens with lit agents. When somebody like does that, they're like, oh, the sharks are swimming. Like, oh, let's move the book from self-pub to traditional pub because that can happen. Do you know that? Like you can have a self-pub book. That happened to Jen Sincero with You Are a Badass. Her book was self-published, and because she was so committed to her book launch for 3 years, she promoted her book for 3 years. Okay. It was so successful, they gave her a traditional book deal and reprinted it. And then she hit the New York Times. And so did this other author just recently. So yes, you could, but that's what you got to do. And you still don't know. But I'll tell you what, Brock Purdy, who's our quarterback, just got like one of the biggest deals for a quarterback. And I'm on Sneak Unicorn team. I'm going to be like outside of his door. I'm going to be like, can you please just pick up my book and read it on the sidelines? I have a mission. It is happening. So self-published books can become a national bestseller. They can hit the USA Today bestsellers list or the Wall Street Journal list, but the Wall Street Journal list is now defunct. And what's funny is you guys think these lists pay to play. They are not pure editorial lists. They pay a company called BookScan to be able to call themselves a legitimate book list. Okay? Now, in order for your self-published book to hit one of the national lists, you need distribution. And in order to do that, most self-published authors don't have the right contacts to make that happen. The good news is I know how to do it now. Hitting an Amazon bestseller list is the easiest one to hit because you can manipulate the category that your book is listed in. Now, if you're traditionally or hybrid published on Amazon, you can't manipulate it because the publisher is the one who picks your categories. But if you're self-published, you can categorize yourself any way you want. Like, let's say like you're writing a book on the power of plant medicine, you can own the category on Amazon that says books on plants, birds, and other insects kind of thing. And you can hit number one and be number one for a long time. And I want to say this because, again, I don't want to shame anyone if that's happened or you did that because someone told you to do it. I think it's fine. I will say though, if you want to actually monetize it further and you want to get like big corporate contracts, you want to get speaking and training, that's not going to get you that. So I want to be clear on that. You know how like how many of you have been thought, okay, somebody said, okay, I can at least hit Amazon number one. Again, that's fine, but it's just something you get to put on your website. But if your book doesn't have legs or show sales, it's hard to use that book to sell speaking and training and licensing your intellectual property. That's why don't do it the easy way because it doesn't mean anything. Publishing fact number 5. So your book won't be the most likely source of your income, even if you're self-published, unless again, some quarterback reads your book on the sidelines of a big game. So it's a critical credibility marker to open up bigger opportunities for you, like I said. But part of why people don't finish their books is because they don't see the entire pathway that can make the book the ultimate flywheel. How many of you guys have a Peloton bike or have done any type of like cycling, right, at the gym? The flywheel, you know, the front wheel, like when you're first learning how to like do your Peloton or you're like cycling, right? You're going, oh my God, like the flywheel is like making me fly forward. Well, the goal here is to use your book now as a flywheel instead of thinking of it as a book. This is beyond the book. When you decide to write what I call a legitimate published book, this becomes the anchor right here, the anchor for a 360-degree monetization strategy. And if you want to get paid as a speaker, consultant, and or sell more of your services and programs, this is the best way to do it if you're an expert. And this is how you elevate yourself to thought leader status. The problem is that like nobody tells you how to actually do that. And there wasn't a framework until now. And this is it. I started to see like, oh, I really like authors. I find that when I work with authors who are entrepreneurs, they're way more fun to work with. It's just that their business model and their brand authority isn't set up correctly. And I thought, okay, writing your book so that you start monetizing your book before it publishes, that you're going to monetize your book before it publishes. And if you're going traditional or hybrid, it's going to take you almost 2 years minimum to get the book to market. That's how it works. Don't make that a reason you don't start because it's going to take 2 years. So if you start next year, it's going to take another 2, and then it's going to take another 2, and then it's going to take another 2. This framework that we're going to do today is going to show you how you can make all this money right now, fund all of the marketing for your book, and then get paid even more after if you just started. If you're like Dr. Sunita, who's in here, she already published a book, no problem. That goes in the blue category. She's got the best-selling book. Great. The question is do you have the right business model structure and brand authority pieces to support that your book continues to grow and have more momentum instead of just dying on the vine? Because here's the thing, the publishers will let your book die on the vine. They don't care. And I really mean it. They actually don't care. The people who work there are pretty nice. But from a business model perspective, it doesn't make sense for them to keep investing in the book you've already published. That's not what they do. They pick 2 winners a year. And unless you have what they call a strong backlist, a backlist means, so the front list is the day you publish. Okay, so the day you publish, that's called the front list performance. So I sold 25,000 books in February. That's my front list performance. What's really going to give me more leverage and negotiating power is my backlist performance. How did my book do in March, April, May, June? Okay. Those are the books, they call those perennial sellers, okay? Those are rare. So if you're not one of the big dogs like James Clear and Atomic Habits, you know, Mel Robbins with Let Them, any of the big cookbook authors, any of the, you know what I mean? And then don't even get me started with fiction. Okay, today we're really talking about nonfiction prescriptive. right? And memoir, they only care about new. They don't care about what I call BAU or business as usual. They don't. You need to understand that.